Hello, welcome. You're watching Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Trouble for TikTok continues to mount as countries look to clamp down on the social media giant. After 5 hours of being grilled by most bipartisan U.S. Congress leaders and politicians, the TikTok CEO has admitted that Chinese engineering company ByteDance have access to users' data. However, the social media company executive maintained that the company is not an agent for China or any other country for that matter. Let me go across to Zakrzewski, tech policy reporter for the Washington Post. So that was some very aggressive questioning by members of the House committee. How is this likely to go, Kat? Do you expect a ban? Is this what is being contemplated by the U.S. government, an outright ban on TikTok in the United States?
So political momentum is certainly growing for a ban of TikTok. We heard multiple lawmakers, including Kathy McMorris-Rodgers, the chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee yesterday, call for a ban of TikTok. The question is how that would work. The White House senior officials in the Biden administrations do not believe that the White House has the authority to ban TikTok without an act of Congress. And so that really puts the ball on Capitol Hill for lawmakers to move forward with legislation known as the Restrict Act, which would grant greater powers to the Commerce Department to move forward with such action.
Would also like to ask you about what is the evidence that the U.S. government and the House committee is working with right now. There have been widespread allegations of surveillance by TikTok, collection of users' data. So what is the kind of evidence that the House committee and the government is working with?
At least in terms of what they've made public, they have limited evidence supporting these claims that TikTok is a national security threat. One of the things that we heard lawmakers talk about again and again is reports that some ByteDance employees were using the company's tools to surveil U.S. journalists who are writing critical stories about the company. But beyond that, most of the risks that lawmakers have brought up to this point have been mostly hypothetical. They're worried that because TikTok's parent company ByteDance is headquartered in Beijing, that could be abused by the Chinese government to force ByteDance to turn over access to American user data. There's also concern that because the company's source code was partially developed in China and because of the operations that ByteDance has there, that the Chinese Communist Party could seek to use TikTok to spread propaganda to Americans.
Right. And what happens next? What action could the House committee take against the TikTok CEO, against the company, its executives in India?
So one thing that we're all watching is, one, will there be more hearings with TikTok CEO Shao Chu? One of the things that I noticed yesterday is that lawmakers from other committees in Congress were actually walking into the room at points. So it's possible we could see him called back to Capitol Hill again for more questions. And then the next big action that we're watching for is, will the U.S. Congress pass legislation that makes it easier for the U.S. government to attempt to ban or restrict TikTok? And again, that's that legislation, the Restrict Act, that has been introduced in the U.S. Senate. But all of this, I think there's big questions as political momentum for a ban builds in Washington. One thing to just remember is that the United States has tried to ban TikTok before under President Trump. And the federal judges in the United States actually blocked those moves, saying that the ban on TikTok ran afoul of the U.S. Constitution, which has protections for free speech. So it's possible that any attempt, whether in Congress or within the Biden administration, could run into similar hurdles.
Right. So there is clearly a judicial hurdle that any action by the U.S. government could run into. Zakrzewski, thank you very much for joining us here on Global Eye, giving us your view and what lies ahead for TikTok in the United States.